So if we wanted to create a rule, and we're just going to call this intrusion, we can see how it's pretty helpful in just walking you through. It's very intuitive from that perspective. So here's my intrusion. Anything else that I've configured in the AI box is potentially going to show because we're creating rules. So bear that stuff in mind. Let's go back to intrusion. So what do we want to have? We've got our intrusion 1 and intrusion 2. So now we know intrusion 2 is our yellow zone and intrusion 1 is our red zone. And again, when we're naming it, you can see why the naming the device based off of the intent becomes very important. So you can, when you go through things like this, if you don't recall, you'll have that visual reminder of what its intent is. So now, if I had a schedule, I could turn around and maybe, there's an LPR group 1 schedule already there. If it was a relevant schedule, I could select it. It's not really for this matter. Deactivate when disarm state, I could just leave that unchecked because basically it just means that the schedule gets deactivated if I disarm the AI box. We're not using the schedule, so it doesn't matter. If I was, just for argument's sake, if there's any question about this, there's a little eye right here. You click on that and it'll give you, and you'll see this throughout the box, the little eyes you can just click on and they'll give you additional information. Now I want to have a condition. So the condition is going to be, I don't know, if alarm in triggers on, alarm channel 1, then add this condition. If it's for 5 seconds, then this will come into play. If it doesn't meet the condition, it doesn't. My recommendation for conditions is play with them to see how they're actually going to impact when you set them up. Only because it allows you to really be certain about what's happening or not happening. Let me go back just to reset that. So now, what is our action going to be? What action is going to take place when the intrusion event happens? Well, we talked before about just having an email happen. We've already got our email set up. So basically we're saying when the intrusion happens, in this case, the action is going to be email the recipient, a snapshot of what just happened, or just email them. You don't necessarily have to have the snapshot attached so that they're aware of it. Now, just add that. I could have another action. It doesn't have to be just an email. Let's say I want to have an HTTP event sent to my VMS, or I want to have my alarm out, trigger my alarm panel, or maybe I want to have an audio back channel enabled. So a message is playing over an IP speaker. So you can see you can have multiple, and I'm just going to select Control, and from Control I don't really have anything set up, so I'm just going to set, won't let me go from that one. All right, let's see, let me do an audio back channel with any configuration. No. So you can see your actions are only going to be relevant if you've got something set up. You have your presets. What do you say on for 5 seconds? So just to demonstrate that you can create a multi-layered action that will happen when one event is detected, you can see you can just go on and create more and more actions to this. Okay, so we've got 2 actions that are going to happen on an intrusion. An email and alarm out will trigger, and it'll trigger for 5 seconds. And that's it. Apply, yes, and there's our intrusion rule. Now, like you said earlier, if I go over and I delete the email option, then this is no longer a valid rule. And since it's no longer valid, the AI box is going to remove it. It's going to delete it on you. I want to say it's an intelligence behind the device, because if you remove the email, the rule is no longer valid, and it could cause a corruption in the configuration of the setting because a component or part of the puzzle has been removed. But on the same time, being a human being as opposed to an AI, the thought would be, well, you know what? I'm going to create a new email account because the prior email account I was using was no longer valid. Well, it's a valid thought, but think of it this way. Don't delete the old email. That's bad. Input your new email, come into the rule that you've just created. You'll save yourself a lot of work. Now, I can't change anything there. I can delete what's there, and then I can add my new email. And now I'm not recreating the wheel, so to speak, by having to recreate that rule. Now, once I've changed this over to the new email, I can now safely go in and I can delete the old email. Basically, the rule of thumb is if you make a mistake, don't delete anything. Fix the mistake by creating a new email, a new event action, or a new trigger. Go into the rule, modify the rule to take advantage of the new email or the new AI trigger, and then delete the old one that's no longer valid so that you don't have to recreate everything and lose time because of it. So from a best practice, that's the recommendation for best practice on that.